A mortification must intervene, a domination of the female over the male, the moon over the sun, the volatile over the fixed, as a provisional condition for the son to reaffirm himself again, more perfect and greater than his parents. Julius Evola. This line is not psychological advice. It is a precise description of the first crisis of the great work. In classical alchemy, this is the solve phase, the negrito, the descent of the fixed solar principle into the lunar waters. The sun must enter the domain of the moon and temporarily lose its sovereignty. The fixed must become volatile. The masculine must submit to the feminine matrix. The critical distinction is how this submission occurs. There are two paths. The first is collapse. The solar principle does not willingly enter the lunar field. It is pulled under by its own unresolved hunger. The man seeks from the woman, or from matter, or from the world, what he has refused to generate within himself. His strength is already compromised before the encounter. In that state, the feminine appears as the devouring mother. She receives his residual claim, his demand to be completed, his unoffered need. Because he comes as a supplicant rather than as an offering, the relationship becomes vampiric. His etheric forces are drawn out. His astral body becomes entangled. He is used, diminished, and eventually resented. Not because the woman is evil, but because she has been forced to carry a weight that was never hers to transform. The man experiences this as betrayal. In reality, he was never strong enough to serve the matrix. He only sought to feed from it. The second path is willful humility and strength. Here the solar principle deliberately descends. The man has already begun the work of gathering his residual claims. He does not approach the feminine in order to take. He approaches as one who can give without depletion. He delights in her as she is, the way one delights in a landscape or a living forest, without the demand that the landscape complete him. This is not passive admiration. It is an active, responsible offering of presence. His masculinity remains intact. It is simply placed in service. In alchemical language, the sun consents to be washed by the moon without dissolving its essential nature. The volatile is allowed to work upon the fixed, but the fixed does not lose its center. This distinction appears clearly in the old image of the sons of the mother versus the knights for the mother. The mother loves her sons. She holds them, nourishes them, and keeps them close. Yet what she actually needs are knights, men who stand in their own solar center, who protect the field, and who can give her what is required on the spiritual, energetic, mental, and emotional levels, not merely the physical. The sun remains inside the matrix and is sustained by it. The knight serves the matrix from a place of strength and is regenerated by it in return. Most men never make the passage from sun to night. They remain in the softer, dependent position and call it love. The same law governs every human relationship to the world itself. The outer world, the living matrix of form, responds to us exactly as the feminine responds to the masculine. When we approach it with residual claim, demanding that it complete us, validate us, or supply what we have withheld, it becomes devouring. When we approach it as an offering with nothing to extract, the same matrix begins to regenerate us. Man and woman is only the most intimate mirror of this greater operation. When the descent is performed correctly, a reciprocal current appears. The feminine matrix, no longer required to supply what is missing, begins to regenerate the man. Her lunar, etheric, and astral forces flow toward him as nourishment rather than as compensation. This is the secret of the conjunctio when it is not premature. The woman is not saving the man. She is responding to a vessel that has already made itself capable of receiving without collapsing. There is a further trial that belongs especially to this work. Many people feel the strongest pull toward a particular person and then turn away because the intensity is frightening. They choose the safer resonance instead of the deeper one. Yet it is precisely with, quote, the one, unquote, the soul with whom the alchemical tension is greatest, that the real transformation can occur. The fear is not a warning to flee. It is the sign that the opposites are close enough to generate true heat. Avoiding that encounter is often the refusal of the very mortification the work demands. For certain men, the trial is even sharper. Those who have seen the psychopathy, the coldness, and the destructive potential within the feminine find it far harder to make the full descent. The temptation is to remain permanently defended, to withhold the solar offering out of justified distrust. yet to complete the journey anyway, to see her nature more fully, including its shadow, and still choose the position of the night rather than the wounded sun, is a greater service. It is a harder purification of the residual claim, and therefore a more complete preparation of the vessel. Steiner's mystery knowledge sharpens this further. In the esoteric Christology, the sun spirit must fully enter the earthly lunar sphere. The Christ does not remain above matter. He descends into it and permeates it from within. Yet the descent is never a fall. It is a conscious sacrifice of the higher for the sake of the lower, so that the lower may be raised. The same law operates in the microcosm of the human being and in the relation between man and woman. The masculine must permeate the feminine matrix without being absorbed by it. If the permeation is incomplete, the residual solar claim becomes the exact point where luciferic inflation or harmonic hardening can enter. If the permeation is total and clean, the etheric body of the man is renewed, the astral becomes more transparent, and the ego is strengthened rather than depleted. Rosicrucian alchemy speaks of the same process as the preparation of the pure vessel. The masculine must become the vas hermeticum capable of holding the lunar dew without leaking. Most men never achieve this. They either remain rigidly fixed, refusing the moon entirely, or they dissolve, losing the sun. The rare third possibility is the one Evola points to, a provisional, conscious domination of the female over the male that does not destroy the male but prepares him to rise again, more perfect and greater than his parents. In energetic terms, collapse produces an open, bleeding etheric system and a chaotic astral field. Willful solar humility produces a sealed yet receptive etheric system and a clarified astral that can receive higher influences without distortion. This is why the man who has made the pure offering can stand before a woman or before the living world in delight rather than demand. He has nothing to extract, therefore he cannot be extracted from. The matrix, recognizing a true solar presence, responds with regeneration. That is the difference between being devoured and being renewed, between remaining a son of the mother and becoming a knight for her. In the end, the world itself is only a projection screen for the state of the vessel. What we meet in the matrix is the precise reflection of what we have or have not yet offered into the fire.